Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Dramatised for radio by Jonathan Holloway.
Now here's a comforting thought. The hands of all our 4,000 electric clocks in the Bloomsbury Central Hatchery's 4,000 rooms are showing exactly 27 minutes past 2.
You are listening to the voice of the director of the London hatcheries as he addresses laboratory operatives in training. My name is Helmholtz Watson, and I am speaking to you from the year 2116. You are all dead. Western civilization has won wars that left it morally bankrupt. Children are no longer born, they are grown in glass vessels, their development interrupted so they'll fit into a ruthless caste system. Sex is everywhere, is for recreation, not procreation, and sits alongside obstacle golf as one of the essentials of a contented, emotionally retarded existence. Women are judged by their beauty and pneumatic performance in bed, their faces covered in orange colourant and eyebrows painted on. Fate continues throwing up those of us whose unfinished minds put us at odds with society. My friend Bernard Marx discovered that the director of the London Human Hatcheries, who you just heard, tried to murder his lover and her illegal unborn child in New Mexico 20 years ago. Bernard has brought mother and grown-up son back to London. The boy, John, is now a noble, upright, clear-eyed savage. Bernard plans to use John as a weapon against the director, and so prevent himself from being banished for his unconventional thinking.
Efficiency. That is what provides the great certainty which guides our lives and makes us happy. We are, above all things, efficient in this hive of industry filled with the buzz of work. Everyone is busy, everything is in ordered motion. Under the microscopes, their long tails furiously lashing, spermatozoa are burrowing headfirst into eggs. Fertilized eggs are expanding, dividing, budding and breaking into whole populations of identical human beings. From the social predestination room, the escalators rumble down into our basement where the eggs stew in blood surrogate and hormones. The clocks are right, everyone has a place, and everyone stays at their allotted station in life.
Good morning, Director.
Good morning, Mr. Marx.
Good morning, everyone. You sent a message for me to meet you here, Director.
I understand you returned from your holiday in New Mexico last night.
Yes. Is this convenient? I see you're teaching.
Oh, not only convenient, Mr. Marx. Essential, I would have said. Ladies and gentlemen, and those of you working at the benches, would you mind paying attention for a moment? I'm afraid I have a painful duty to perform. This man who stands before you, this Alpha Plus named Bernard Marx, this colleague of yours, now an ex-colleague, has grossly betrayed the trust invested in him. His heretical views on sport and soma, the scandalous unorthodoxy of his near-monogamous sex life, these and other transgressions have proved him to be an enemy of order, stability, and, I'm afraid I have to say, civilization itself. I have determined to transfer you, Mr. Marx, to the most isolated hatchery we manage in Iceland. Now, before you clear your locker, can you think of any reason why I shouldn't do this?
Yes, I can.
Oh, then please share it with us.
Certainly. But it's outside in the passage. One moment. Come in. Don't worry, everything's fine. When you come. There he is, Linda. Do you recognize him?
Well, I know you, Thomas. I would have recognized you among 1,000 people. But perhaps you've forgotten who I am. Don't you remember, Thomas? You're Linda. Won't you take me in your arms, Thomas?
What's the meaning of this? Why have you brought this fat monster here? Is she sick? What are you trying to do, Mr. Marx?
Won't you say hello? Be kind. Hold me.
Get off
I'm
me.
Linda. I'm Linda. You made me have a baby.
Get away from me. I've never seen you before.
Wasn't my fault, Thomas. I always did my drill, didn't I? Didn't I? Didn't I, you scum? I don't know how you managed to get me pregnant, but you did.
Stand back.
It has been awful. But our son has been a great comfort to me all the same. John! John!
You are my father. My father.
I don't know what you're playing at, Mr. Marks. I've no idea who these people are. This is not my son. I do not have a son. This is some plot you've cooked up to save your skin. Isn't it, Mr. Marks?
Bernard's plan worked perfectly. He had humiliated the director of the London hatcheries and saved his own bacon in the process. But this wasn't the only opportunity Bernard spotted. John the Savage was a ticket to a new future for the diminutive Bernard. He could become the young man's keeper, agent, manager, having already used the scandal of Linda's pregnancy and attempted murder to make contact with Mustafa Mond, the resident world controller of Western Europe. He now had the ear of the most powerful man in England. What couldn't he achieve if he set his mind to it? But Linda was a complication. Taken out of the dry New Mexican climate, she quickly deteriorated.
We're giving her soma instead of mezcal. She's taking as much as 20 grams a day.
What's going to happen to her, Dr. Shaw?
Well, that dosage will finish her off in a month or two. One day the respiratory centre will be paralysed. No more breathing. Finished. And a good thing, too. If we could rejuvenate her, it would be different, but she's too far gone.
But, Doctor, why are you giving her soma if it's shortening her life?
She has no serious occupation, Mr. Marks. No contribution to make. So, which is better? Keeping her sober and miserable, or giving her a few weeks of dreamscape holiday?
It's not right.
Well, first of all, it's not for you to say. Unless you have a degree in clinical medicine secreted about your person. Do you? I thought not. Linda is a scientific resource. She's a specimen we must study. We don't get her kind anymore. It's true, we can't rejuvenate her. But I, for one, am very glad to have this opportunity to see an example of senility in a human being. Thank you so much for calling me in. Now, please, leave her to us, Mr. Marks.
Bernard's companion, Lenina Crown, was still reeling from her trip to New Mexico and its vision of a different society that prized fidelity and in which babies were born from their mothers' wombs. She was confused. Her particular intelligence soaked up new possibilities while it went to war with her conditioning.
Bernard says I can meet your savage next Wednesday. I assume that's okay.
Why wouldn't it be? Can you pass me that serum?
Well, you've been a bit touchy. If I weren't your friend, I'd say possessive.
Why would I be possessive about John?
I had to have sex with Bernard in order to fix up the meeting with the savage.
Well, I'm glad, Fanny. Maybe now you'll admit you were wrong about Bernard.
I suppose so. Once he actually had me, I realised he's all right. He's quite a go-getter, isn't he?
Well, he didn't used to be. In fact, that's why I liked him. But everybody wants to meet him now. Bernard's got invitations from the Director of Predestination, 3 Assistant Fertiliser Generals, professors at the College of Emotional Engineering, the Dean of Westminster Community Choir, and the list goes on and on.
But what exactly does he do?
Bernard?
John the Savage.
Well, he doesn't have sex with people for a start.
What? Why on earth not?
Perhaps that's why everyone is so drawn to him. He just won't do it, refuses, saving himself or something.
I mean, what does he do at these sessions, performances?
John gives a sort of improvised lecture. He reads poetry, recites Shakespeare, spouts some unintelligible philosophy about abstinence and monks who once lived in caves. I mean, none of it adds up, but the audience like it. At one moment, they're won over by his innocence, and the next, they're laughing at his crudity.
Lenina, you like him, don't you?
John?
Of course, John.
I'd rather say I'm intrigued by him. His blue eyes.
Well, what about them?
Well, it's as if they see a different world to us. Does that make sense?
Not at all. But then you seem to make sense less and less. But I'm getting used to it.
So, this is very curious, I think you'll agree. Bernard, my renegade partner in crime, was changing, or being changed, because for the first time in his life he felt in control of something. It was going to his head. On the other hand, Lenina Crown, former pneumatic queen of the prone position, was beginning to metamorphose. But into what?
You know, you don't need my permission to go with Bernard. Everyone owns everyone else.
Well, I just thought, some of his unorthodox ways might have rubbed off.
Bernard has become something of a catch, and I admit I liked him very much for a while. But he looks fake alongside John. Anyway, Bernard doesn't seem that interested in me anymore.
London is certainly taking notice of him. Bernard had 6 different girls last week, and there were at least another dozen practically banging the door down.
Yeah, I don't really think I want to know about all that. Thank you.
I believe you envy me, don't you, Helmholtz?
Rather sad for you, actually.
Why?
Well, you don't seem to need a proper job anymore.
That's not something to be sad about.
You're rid of the director of the London hatcheries.
Phew, eh?
Success has gone to your head.
That's unkind.
Well, look what's happened to you, Bernard. The system is sucking you in. You like having all the girls you want, and you're not watching your back anymore, which is a mistake.
What?
Fundamentally, John the Savage stands for everything society hates, but everyone is fascinated by his novelty. He's sexy, but won't have sex. But what's certain is one day, quite suddenly, that's all going to change. The world order requires John's novelty should wear off, and when that happens, you'll be left up the veritable creek without a paddle.
Why shouldn't I just enjoy it?
Well, I suppose, if I'm truthful, I just feel deeply sorry at the way you're suddenly reconciled with a world which up until now you found revolting.
Wrong again. I'm no friend of the world order.
But there's a different tone in your voice.
What?
You aren't blustering as much. You don't seem threatened. You've become part of the system. Your wisdom makes for poignant but unthreatening broadcasting. Your newly acquired privilege guts you of authenticity.
You're being cruel.
Your status flows from John the Savage. When his novelty wears off, you'll be left exposed. He'll be cast out, and the same will happen to you.
Look up, John.
What is it?
Don't you think that's impressive? It's a captive weather balloon hanging there like a pearl in the sky.
You sound proud.
Well, why shouldn't I be?
It's nothing to do with you. You don't own it. You didn't make it. You didn't decide it was needed. I agree, it's a good thing. But why would you take credit for it being there?
I'm not taking credit for it.
Just now you were all puffed up.
Against my instincts, I sometimes feel, well, yes, proud is the right word. Proud of what human beings can achieve.
An Indian wise woman told me about something she read as a child. The writer's name was Emerson. He spoke of people bound together by a shared human soul, the Oversoul.
There's one thing in our godforsaken world I agree with, and it's the abolition of superstition.
You've just said it.
Said what?
God-forsaken. Yes, it might look that way. But God's own Son died on the cross to save us from our sins. God has not forsaken us. And perhaps it's time for another sacrifice to save mankind.
I believe in what I can see and touch.
Just now you were proud of the human race.
Don't worry, it didn't last long. I'm over it now.
You felt in communion with your fellow creatures. What is it?
That's the Bombay Green Rocket. It flies at 1,250 kilometers an hour. What do you think of that?
What should I think of it?
I don't know. I suppose you should be impressed.
You see? You can't help yourself, can you?
Compared to Mustafa Mond's status, power, and aura of danger, Bernard Marx is an ant. Why did Mond answer the telephone to Bernard when he called from New Mexico with news of the director of hatchery's crime? Mond must have spotted something he'd want to keep close, to hold tight. And he maintained regular contact with Bernard through these weeks and months.
You see, sir, the Savage shows surprisingly little astonishment at, or awe of, civilized inventions. This is partly due, no doubt, to the fact he has heard them talked about disparagingly by the woman Linda, his mother.
I wish you hadn't felt you needed to use that word.
He remains steadfastly concerned with something he calls the human soul, which he persists in regarding as an entity independent of the physical environment.
I always assumed ferals would be frightening. I had not anticipated your John would be a confused idiot.
I don't think he's an idiot. He says he finds the infantile civilized world unsatisfying. He believes we have diminished the qualities that make us human.
I'm not sure I understand you.
I was trying to point out...
You seem to be under the misapprehension we are engaged in some sort of debate, you and I.
What? I thought...
That we agree, all subjects, including the hard-won happiness of the civilized peoples of the earth, the close order organization of humanity by intelligence, talent, and usefulness, the abandonment of emotion as a factor in relationships, that all these achievements are somehow open to scrutiny?
I am very sorry if I have caused offence.
Not at all, Mr. Marx. You're not important enough to cause offence. There is no offence here. There is only what will prevail and what won't. Have I made myself plain?
Yes, sir.
You are my spy, Mr. Marx. My creature. I expect you to continue reporting every day.
Welcome to the factory, Mr. Savage.
That's not my name.
I'm sorry? Not Mr. John Savage, then?
It is a name others have applied without asking my opinion. Please, simply call me John.
Each process in the factory is carried out as far as possible by a single group of what we call twins. We use the word not because they come in pairs, but to represent their identical genetic makeup. The official title is a Bokanovsky group, named after the scientific pioneer who invented the process of their fertilization. You will see 83 black Bokanovskys with broad, short skulls, practically noseless. Then deltas taking care of cold pressing. 56 spindle chuckers working on machines manipulated by 57 aquiline-featured, ginger-haired gammas. In the assembling rooms, the dynamos are being put together by 2 sets of gamma-plus dwarfs.
Oh, brave new world.
Pardon, Mr.
Brave
Savage?
new world that has such people in it.
I assure you, Mr. Savage, we hardly have any trouble with our workers. We tend to...
I've heard enough.
Where are you going? I have the courtesy tour all set up and the refreshments... with
Please,
senior management.
where's the nearest restroom? I'm going to be sick.
Voice message to Mustafa Mond, personal voice account, security level 2, daily report. The Savage refuses to take Soma himself and seems much distressed because the woman Linda, his M, remains permanently on a Soma holiday. It's interesting that in spite of his M's senility and the extreme repulsiveness of her appearance, the Savage frequently goes to see her and appears to be much attached to her. This is an interesting example of the way early conditioning can be made to modify and even run counter to natural impulses. In this case, the impulse to recoil from an unpleasant object.
Our society shares something very profound with those that have gone before. It is always necessary to educate a small slice of society to a much higher level than the rest. We need logical, trained, but creative minds at the helm. This carries a risk. I, and to a degree Bernard as well, we're examples of what can go wrong. Train a mind to be inventive in a crisis, and you risk that a minority will go rogue. That minority will be solitary, weep for the human condition, and travel in a mist of melancholia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Savage, Mr. Marx.
Good afternoon, Miss Keats.
Please, my name is not John Savage. It is simply John.
I see.
Please don't take offence, Miss Keats. Thank you for welcoming us to Eton Upper School.
Mr. Marx, it is only correct this school of schools should celebrate the arrival of such a distinguished stranger in our midst for the purposes of learning about ourselves. It is easy to forget how modern society overcame the past, and if we are to relish the present, we must see the past for what it was. And here is the blue-eyed, living and breathing past.
Do you have many what you call twins here?
Oh, no. Eton Upper School is reserved exclusively for the decision-makers of the future. Upper caste boys and girls. One unique egg, one unique adult. It makes educating them much more difficult, of course, but as they'll be called upon to take huge responsibilities and deal with unexpected emergencies, it cannot be helped.
Miss Keats, if you're free any Monday, Wednesday or Friday evening, I would love the opportunity to talk to you about how I discovered John.
Thank you. I would like that. You have an impish intellectual quality about you which I find very attractive, Mr. Marx. Will Mr. Savage be available too?
That's unlikely, Miss Keats.
Really? You'll have to explain that to me later, Mr. Marx. Now, I'm going to take you straight to an Alpha Plus classroom and show you a class in Malthusian drill firsthand. After that, we'll go to a geography lesson about beta-minus reservations, such as the one you're familiar with, Mr. Savage.
John, not Savage. And how do you choose where to put a reservation?
Well, I don't choose. I don't have anything to do with reservations.
Well, how do they choose? The other people?
Reservations are in locations characterized by unfavorable climatic or geological conditions, or poverty of natural resources. Places just not worth civilizing.
Where the conditions are cruel. Do your students read Shakespeare?
Certainly not.
Ah, they're coming back from a trip. Where have these pupils been, Miss Keith?
Slough Crematorium.
Ah.
Every pupil here spends 2 mornings a week in a hospital for the dying. They get chocolate ice cream if they see a death. They learn it's good that old people die to make way for the young.
When do you start them on Soma?
It's one of those insoluble conundrums. Most youngsters are taking small doses of Soma in the afternoons at nursery. But we all know Soma has a negative effect on brain development. Of course, that doesn't matter as a general rule, but our boys and girls are special. We hold off on Soma until physical development has done most of the work by itself, around the age of 14 years. Now, if you'll follow me, please.
I've left my hairspray in the apartment. Can I borrow yours?
I've stopped using the stuff.
I'll have to borrow Cindy's. I'm sure she won't mind. Lenina, you're looking very pleased with yourself.
That's because I am. Bernard has a meeting tonight, and he's asked me to take John to the immersive cinema. I'll have to hurry if I'm going to be on time.
What's he like?
In truth, far too thoughtful. It's quite disconcerting.
No, what's he like in bed?
I wouldn't know, Fanny.
You're joking. Surely you don't mean
Look,
that you...
It's wonderful soaking up the attention that comes from being with Bernard and John Savage, but there hasn't been anything physical between John and I. The first thing everyone wants to know is what's it like to make love to a savage. And I have to say, I don't know.
Frankly, that's a bit of a shock.
Fanny, he's terribly good looking and everything, but... Well,
Say it.
I'm going to take a risk and confide in you.
Go ahead.
I listened to Bernard. A lot of the things he said early on about wanting to have a relationship with just one person and explore that, well, that's got inside my head. I wanted to be with Bernard, but he's changed since John turned up. He doesn't seem quite as different, quite as endearing as he did. Not quite as brave, sort of thing. And
you're not making sense.
I mean, I don't simply want to jump on top of John Savage. I would like to do it with John now, yes, but properly, as part of a relationship.
So, doesn't he like you?
Sometimes I think he does, and sometimes I think he doesn't. Sometimes he seems to do his best to avoid me. Goes out of the room when I come in, won't touch me, won't even look at me. But sometimes, if I turn around suddenly, I catch him staring, and I can see he definitely does like me.
I'd be confused too.
Oh, don't tell anyone.
Of course not. I don't pretend to be able to keep up with the twists and turns of your alternative lifestyle.
Fanny, the truth is, I like John. Quite a lot. More than I think is normal. I don't want you at home tonight.
No problem. I'll pick someone else up, no doubt.
Later that same night, ... The technical term for which is an ellipsis.
Is there something wrong? Didn't you enjoy the film?
No, I didn't.
Well, I thought it might get you in the mood. Was it because of the people staring at you?
No, I'm used to that now.
Well, what then? What have I done wrong?
I don't think you should watch things like that.
Things like what, John?
Well, that woman, she was trying to get away from all those bad men. Then they caught her and they all ravished her.
Yes, but she enjoyed it.
Not to begin with.
But she realised how good it is that all those men wanted her.
But the girl acting...
Most people would say she's lucky.
Is that what you really think?
I don't understand.
I was watching her face. She was pretending to like it. Pretending that each man made her more and more happy. She gasped and whimpered and trashed around as if they were driving her into a frenzy. But that wasn't what I saw in her eyes.
What did you see, John?
Loneliness. Fear. Indeed, sadness deep down in the pools of her watery eyes. What they did to her was horrible. Can you really not see that?
John, it was lovely.
No, it was base and ignoble. And it makes me feel dirty because I watched it.
I don't know what you mean. Why do you go out of your way to spoil things?
No, I don't. It's just that everything is around the wrong way. The world has turned backwards on itself. There's no substance to anything. Everything is made to wither the instant someone buys it. And so you have to buy more of whatever it is. And permanence, ideas, they've become dirty words when they should be virtues.
Look, John, you're terribly good looking. Do you want to take my clothes off, or shall I do it for you? You'd rather I do it myself, would you? Do please say something.
Please, don't take your clothes off, Lenina.
But, John...
I have an important speaking engagement tomorrow. At least Bernard says it's important. I'm exhausted. I have to get some sleep. Take a couple of grams of Soma and we'll just go to bed. I'll lie next to you with a sheet between us. That's all I want.
I always thought it would be the likes of Mustafa Mond who'd end John's celebrity, and Bernard's by default. I never thought John would reach breaking point first, that it would be his idealism, if you can call it that, his sense of right and wrong, what matters and what doesn't, that would kill the golden goose.
You can't do this, John. There's a huge crowd waiting for you.
They're wasting their time.
Listen. All these people have been invited for the specific purpose of meeting you. They want to hear you speak.
From now on, you must ask me first before you make arrangements like this.
I'm managing you. I find the opportunities and set them up, and you turn up and do your act.
Act? You've hit the nail on the head. That's precisely why I don't want to do it. I went through all this yesterday evening. I think maybe I shan't do my act ever again.
Do you really mean that?
Yes!
Then what am I supposed to do?
What do you mean?
Everything you've got now, all the fame, the adulation, the money, I did that all for you. We're a team, and now I'm reliant on us staying that way. My entire quality of life depends on it.
Listen to yourself! You are disgusting.
Thank you all very much for coming along tonight. John is very honoured by this turnout of London's most important and dynamic minds. I am sorry to tell you that John is rather overcome. It is only 1 month since his arrival in civilization. It has been a shock to his mind and physiology. We need all to understand he is a human being, albeit a primitive one. His senses are overwhelmed, and we think it best if tonight's reception is postponed. I thank you all for your kindness and look forward to receiving your responses to reissued invitations.
Mr. Marks!
Yes, Miss Keats.
I look around me and I see a gathering of the most influential non-twin high alphas in London. I assume you have made the nature of his audience plain to Mr. Savage.
Yes, indeed I have, Miss Keats.
You and I have a physical understanding. Half the people here attended my school, and everyone here deserves respect. And if I may say so, Mr. Marks, to be feared.
As I said, Miss Keats, Mr. Savage and I are very well aware of the status of this evening's guests. I'm afraid I have to wrap things up now. Good night. Sorry.
Bernard, what's happened?
Oh, Lenina.
Where's John?
John locked himself in a cloakroom. I expect he's scarpered by now.
Oh, where to?
Who knows? Who knows what goes through that savage mind, if anything.
Oh, he knew I'd be here. Perhaps it's because he doesn't like me.
Don't be sad, Lenina.
Hey, where did you come from?
I came home early this morning, long before I had to leave for work, hoping I'd catch a look at John Savage, Starkers. But he'd already gone, hadn't he? And you wouldn't say what happened last night. When you left today, you had a strange air about you. I was concerned. Are you a charlatan, Mr. Marks?
Pardon?
This whole John Savage fable has been very good for you, hasn't it? Well, lots of women have gone with you who wouldn't otherwise have done. John Savage is your own personal performing animal. Roll up, watch the savage dance.
What?
I know someone who was working in the embryo store at the time you were grown. She said it's absolutely true about alcohol getting into your renal feed by mistake. You're not even a real alpha, are you?
So, John, you found your way back. I can smell it.
What can you smell?
Lenina's perfume. So you've been with her?
And where have you been?
Hiding. It's over for me. I've fallen off my pedestal.
It was never very secure. I mean, it was not a wise cause for you to take up.
So you made love. How was it?
We didn't do what you mean. We're just together, that's all.
If you're waiting for her to fall in love with you, don't. No one does that anymore. It's not on the approved list of emotions.
There's a message on your machine. Your friend Helmholtz.
I wanted to talk to you because I am so very excited. You're Mr. Savage, who isn't a savage at all. I saw a video feed of him at some event you took him to. He was reading poetry. He gave a celebration of passion, solitude, loyalty, indeed love, even. He's very inspiring. I feel as though I'm beginning to have something to write about. I want to meet your Savage. I like that word, by the way. We use it to deny people's validity. I think we should reacquire it, celebrate it, be savage. Although I don't know for the life of me what form that would take. Anyway, please, let me meet him. Any time will suit. I'll make myself available. Bye.
Would you meet him?
Why not?
You wouldn't run away and hide like you did today?
It depends what he's like. I mean, I'm not your pet, and I have stopped acting like one.
Lenina, please wait.
Henry, long time no see. Hello. How have you been?
Not bad. Would you like to come to a film tonight?
No, thank you.
So, are you going out with Harry Benito then?
No.
Is there something wrong? You're not ill, are you? Not brooding?
Oh, shut up, you stupid man.
Hello, you two. Making plans for tonight?
Apparently not.
Go away, Henry.
Certainly. I'm off. Bye, Fanny. Everyone belongs to everyone else. And don't you forget it.
What happened?
I just couldn't be bothered with him.
I could smell a man. A rather unwashed man when I got back this morning. Was it Mr. Savage?
Yes.
And how was he?
We slept with a sheet between us. It was very chaste. He's the one I want.
There are millions of other men in the world.
But I don't want them.
How do you know until you've tried?
I have tried.
But how many?
Dozens.
Well, you need to persevere.
While I'm thinking about him.
But just don't.
I can't help it.
Take as much soma as you need to forget.
But every time I surface from it, I shall like him all over again.
I'm disgusted with myself for saying it, and please don't repeat it to anyone else, but I think perhaps you have to take him and make him yours, just yours. Find out what that's actually like.
Are you all right?
No, not at all. I think what you're doing is stupid, but I understand it. I shouldn't, but I do. I feel... I used to be contented. Oh, I'm going home now to soak in a bath with 100 milligrams of soma and try to forget we've had this conversation.
You don't seem very pleased to see me, John.
Don't I? Actually, I'm delighted. I'm sorry if I don't look it. I'm falling in love with you, but it isn't working like it should. It's making me a bit sad. I don't know why. It's mad, but I'm frightened of having you, because that means sooner or later I'll lose you.
I don't understand it either. If any other man had refused to do it with me, I'd have been insulted.
You remember that in New Mexico, people still get married? I'd like us to be bound together like that, too.
Do you mean it, John?
They make a promise to live together forever.
I don't know if I could. I'm afraid the idea still makes me queasy.
Don't do that.
Do what?
Resist.
I can have an opinion, can't I?
When you say opinion, you mean being difficult and spiky. We should be together, like in Shakespeare. Outliving beauty's outward with a mind that doth renew swifter than blood decays.
I don't understand that.
I love you more than anything else in the world.
So, this is finally happening, is it? Help me with my zip.
But, Lenina...
Don't worry, I'll do it myself. Look, John. Look at my body. I'm generally considered not bad. What's the matter, John?
I can't do this.
Why on earth not? What's the matter with me?
I can't have you in the knowledge I'm just going to lose you again in a few days, months.
Stop going on about the end of our relationship when it hasn't even started.
So suddenly, all those other men don't count.
What? Yes, that's right, they don't.
All that shallow lust. Exchanging liquid as if it doesn't mean anything.
Oh.
How many men have you had? No, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I do, but I don't.
Oh, please don't hurt me.
That's a stupid thing to say. Why would I hurt you? It's you who's hurting me.
I haven't done anything. Oh!
I'm Lear, you're Cordelia, the one he cares most about and whose actions cause him the greatest pain. The wren goes to it, and the small gilded fly does lecture in my sight. The soiled horse goes to it with a more riotous appetite. Down from the waist, there are centaurs, the women all above. There's hell, there's darkness, there's the sulphurous pit, burning, scalding, stench, consumption, fie, fie, fie!
John!
Oh, thou weed who art so lovely fair and smells so sweet that the sense aches at thee.
I don't understand. Don't you dare hit me again!
You deserve it. Was this most goodly book made to write whore upon?
John, do you think I might have my clothes, please?
Here. Impudent strumpet. These aren't clothes. They are devices to take men to the precipice. Here.
You can't hit me. No one is allowed to hit me. What's the matter with you? If you don't want me, you could have just said so. You don't have to throw me about the place. Aren't you going to answer?
Hello. Yes, I am. Yes, Mr. Savage speaking. But is it serious? Is she really bad? Where has she been taken? I'll come at once. 3 Park Lane. I'm coming. Linda has had some kind of attack. Apparently she's unconscious. They've taken her to an address at 3 Park Lane?
That's the Park Lane Hospital for the dying.
Don't run! What's the matter with you? Why are you in such a hurry?
Is there any hope?
Who for?
My mother.
Now then, you won't put up with that sort of language in here, not at all. We create a thoroughly pleasant atmosphere here.
Linda, my mother, is there any hope?
That filthy word again.
Answer me.
Do you mean hope of her not dying?
Yes!
Of course not, you fool. When someone is sent here, it's precisely because there is no hope, as you call it.
Take me to her.
If you must. Though why you'd want to, I have no idea. Yeah. Ugh. She's enormous, isn't she? And the stink. My nurses haven't been able to stomach washing her. How could someone let themselves go like that? Anyway, I haven't got time for this nonsense. I have a batch of Alpha Plus children coming in shortly to watch some dying. Your, Linda will die at any moment. They've been told they'll see her go.
Is that you? I know what you want.
Mother.
I know what you want, naughty man. Are you going to be kind and give me something in return? You give me mescal, and I'll be kind to you.
Linda, it's me, John, your son.
My son? No. Everyone belongs to everyone else. Where's my lovely young Indian? Have you chased him away? Where's my mescal?
What's wrong, Linda?
Sister! Quickly! Nurse! Quickly, I think I've killed her.
There are 30 children waiting to come in. They're looking forward to seeing her die. Now you've spoilt it. They need to watch and laugh and get used to it. How can you be so selfish?
How many goodly creatures are there here? How beauteous mankind is. Oh, brave new world.
No! Back into the corridor! No one said come in. This is fun. And like all good fun, it needs to be properly organised. And Mr. Savage... Oh, yeah, I know who you are, and I'm not in the least little bit impressed, to tell you that for nothing. Will you please just get out, now?
You really have no idea where he's gone?
I know he was here with Lenina, but I don't know where either of them went. There's a towel with blood on it in the bathroom.
Well, we need to find him.
Hello? Speaking. Are you sure it's him?
What's going on?
And he did what? Please tell the police to be kind. He doesn't understand much. It's not aggression. Well, it is, sort of. Just keep him there for his own protection. I'm coming.
What's happened?
The fellow I know at the Park Lane Hospital.
Has something happened to John?
He's there. He watched his mother die and he seems to have gone mad. We have to get there as fast as possible. I created a monster, didn't I? Are you coming with me?
What's the matter with you all? Do you like being slaves? Do you like being babies, told what to do?
John, he's gone off his head.
Good luck to him, I say.
Never experiencing the great emotion.
John, excuse me.
The rise
Please,
and
move.
of civilization.
John, come down.
You've been numbed into a flat world of middling sexual pleasure without the spite of desire and self-disgust. Wantonness and
Close to breaking point. They'll kill him. They'll just pull him down off that wall and stamp him to death.
Out of my way!
Your life.
Move!
Be free!
Hello, John! I'm Helmholtz. I want to be free.
What?
Can you show me how?
Free! Good old Helmholtz!
I want to be a man! I want to know the extremes of emotion, of pain, regret, thwarted ambition, lost love. I want them all firsthand.
Hear what he just said? He wants to become a human being. Don't you lot want that as well?
All right, you two. You've had your fun. Well done. Everyone's got the message. Time to go. We need to get out of here.
This is an illegal gathering. You are hereby given notice your usual rights as citizens are suspended. Everyone is required to lie down to be handcuffed. Soma Stinger will be administered. Soma Stinger
Helmholtz.
will be administered.
John, you madman. We have to get away. Now!
You were told to stand still.
Run! I can't see! I can't see!
You were wrong. You alphas, you don't get it, do you? See this? I'll stripe you across the face with it if you move again. This here in my hand. This is the truth, and don't you forget it.
My friend, please calm down. Everyone has the right to an opinion. But remember, everyone also belongs to everyone else. You've had your chance at the free will, and time's up. You will all be transported to an emergency reconditioning centre and released when the doctors feel you're ready.
The police didn't do exactly what they said they would. The public were taken away for re-indoctrination. The three of us were transferred to an hotel where we were watched while we showered and dressed in clothes provided. Those dreadful rayon clothes with zippers that are so depressingly uniform. We were then transferred by luxury vehicle to the office of Mustafa Mond, 500 feet above the streets of Westminster.
So you don't much like civilization, Mr. Savage?
Savage is not my name.
Can we move beyond matters of administration?
It's not a matter of administration. It's a matter of my name.
John.
My name is who I am. And no, I don't much like your civilization, Mr. Mond.
That's very disappointing.
Surely there's something you like?
Well, there's a lot of music.
Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about my ears, and sometimes voices.
You've read it too? I thought nobody knew that book in England.
It's prohibited to all but the select few. The children you met at Eton Upper School.
Miss Keats said they didn't teach it.
She lied. The ideas, the way of seeing it encourages... It's very dangerous, only for the trusted few. That was always the case with art before we became properly civilized. 100 years ago, some people pretended it was for the herd, but they still kept it mostly to themselves. Anyway, no one's officially allowed it. It's prohibited by law, but as I make the law, I can speak it out loud. You, on the other hand, do not make the law, and so can't.
But why prohibit it?
Mr. Watson, have you forgotten your teacher training, your rules of intellectual exclusion? You are an employee of an academic institution, and within that world, if you want to remain employed, it is required that you do as you are told, while maintaining the facade of free thinking. But free thinking must not actually intrude, must it? That's the iron truth behind the rayon fist.
Even if the words are simply beautiful. I have observed myself. I know that I think in words, and the words I have and don't have determine the boundaries of my thought. I want beautiful words because I want more chances to think new thoughts, to make new combinations and get new answers.
We are talking about old words. We don't have any use for old things here, particularly when they're beautiful. The Chinese got it right back in the early 21st century. If only we'd taken notice of them sooner. Harmony, they called it. And it was all smiles. Thankfully, we saved ourselves eventually.
Excuse me, Controller.
Oh, you've found your courage at last, Mr. Marx.
Not really, but I wanted to ask. What would be wrong with making that book, Shakespeare, commonly available? People could make up their own minds whether or not to read it.
It would be a waste of resources.
Why?
Because it would not make a profit. Reading? No one does it voluntarily anymore. There's too much else to do, for which one has to pay. If you don't have to pay, it can't be worth anything, and paying is what keeps the world turning. And anyway, they would not understand those words now. They'd regard them as obscure, boring, stupid.
All right, then. Here's a question. Why do you make the stupid ones at all? The gammas, deltas, and epsilons. Why don't you make everyone an alpha double plus?
Because we have no wish to have our throats cut. A society of alphas couldn't fail to be unstable and miserable. An alpha-conditioned human being would go mad if he had to do epsilon semi-moron work. The optimum population is modelled on an iceberg. 8/9 below the waterline, 1/9 above.
And they are happy below the waterline.
Deliriously so.
Why keep the work moronic? Why not invent more labour-saving devices?
Useless effort keeps them occupied and us out of danger.
But we're always saying science is everything.
It's in the sleep teaching of 13 to 17-year-olds 3 times a week.
I was a pretty good scientist in my day. Then I had a revelation. I realized that all our science is just a cookery book, with an orthodox theory of cooking that nobody's allowed to question, and a list of recipes that must not be altered without the permission of the head cook. But I did a bit of illicit cooking, a bit of real science.
What happened?
Very nearly what's going to happen to you. I was nearly sent to Iceland.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. The thing all 3 of you fail to understand in your different ways is that people are animals, and they need to be controlled for their own good. Some past dictatorial religions and a-religious societies have understood that and acted accordingly, but they all failed because they lacked the appearance of kindness. The world is safe now because of the irresistible force of kindness married to rigorous suppression. And clever, educated, sometime rebels like me, we are the poachers turned gamekeepers who are best at anticipating where problems might arise. Now, go home and sort out your things. Watson, you may keep your communication device. It will be set to receive only, so you can know the events that shall unravel from here. I quite admire your intellect. You remind me of me. Perhaps you might be of use someday. You will receive notice of your travel arrangements, and don't try to stir up trouble. We shall be watching you. Oh, and John.
Yes?
You will be pleased to know you won't be going to Iceland. The other two will go without you.
But why?
Because you are too dangerous, even for Iceland. We have fenced off an area of forest in Surrey and equipped an old concrete military bunker with the basics required for civilized living. You like your religious illusions? Imagine yourself a medieval hermit. Flight paths have been changed to avoid the area.
Once we were aboard the plane for Iceland, I took the opportunity to check my messages. I listened to a long, rambling speech from Bernard's girlfriend. She sounded broken.
I'm sorry I missed you, Mr. Watson. Bernard thinks a lot of you. I hoped you might be able to help me. You see, I don't know how I'm supposed to make any sense of this. Believe me, I really don't understand. Beyond which zip-up boots to wear, or which of the men at the Soma fountain to go home with, I haven't had to make a serious decision about any aspect of my life. I haven't wanted to. Now this man comes along, turns me down, sends me into a spin. It was comfortable being wanted. Please make things normal again. I want not to want. Men came and went, literally, and each brought some kind of novelty, mostly, and all confirmed I am special, beautiful, desirable, and I depilated. And deodorized and was worshipped and stroked and complimented. Then he comes along, downright cheek of it. And suddenly everything I thought counted for nothing. Not for him, the tinted hair, foundation, long enameled nails. Not for him, the uplift brow and gossamer pants. No, he wants everything natural. Ugly, in other words. And he wanted me thinking, not blanked by Soma and sex. And I know he's right, but he has stripped it all away. Showed me how useless I am. And put nothing in its place. I am empty now. Lost. Sad, and I can't stand it. I ache for him, for myself, for everything. A lost soul, and even that word makes sense because I know it should exist, but for me it doesn't. I can't stand this. How can I be expected to? There's no one who can...
So, we managed to ruin her along with ourselves. An uncomplicated young woman became complex under the influence of a trio of men who asked questions which had no answers. Unfortunately, John's personal reservation was not preserved in anonymity. Its chance discovery by a lorry driver and his son prompted a flurry of publicity and an invasion of suburban helicopterists. During the national holiday week, they descended on his bunker in swarms, always demanding the spectacle of his self-flagellation. "The whip! The whip!" they cried. And he obliged. Until, one day, he was discovered in the stairwell of his dark, concrete abode. A headgear of gorse wound about his matted locks. A flow of dried blood staining his side, where he'd clipped the sharp banister while dropping. Mr. Savage turned very slowly at the end of a 15-foot rope, his martyrdom complete, his neck broken, his quietus achieved. his feet, like two unhurried compass needles, turning towards the right, and after a few seconds, unhurriedly turning back to the left. On hearing the news of John's death, Lenina Crown walked out into the road in Kensington Gore and lay down, waiting to be flattened by a bus. Then she resided in a care home in Wembley until throwing herself from a window when the nurse's back was turned. At least, that was the story given out. Goodbye, Lenina Crown. Goodbye, history.
In Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, dramatised for radio by Jonathan Holloway, Bernard was played by Justin Salinger, Helmholtz by Jonathan Coy, Lenina by Pippa Bennett-Warner, and John by Milton Lopez. The director of the London Hatcheries was played by Anton Lesser, Linda by Karina Fernandez, Fanny by Nicola Ferguson, and Henry by Sam Riggs. Miss Keats was Scarlett Brooks, and Mustafa Mond, Sean Baker. Other roles were played by Nick Underwood and members of the cast. The producer was David Hunter.